Welcome, Graham. Thank you for joining me. Let's dive straight into the questions. So our webinar today is all about complex lending and the changing customer. So what is complex lending? What does it mean to you?
Oh, good question, Eloise. I guess as the audience will know, complex lending kind of typically refers to cases that don't fit the conventional high street. They could include that could include borrowers with multiple income streams, or they might have had a credit bump in the road, or they may just have something slightly more non-standard that they need our help with. And then on the buy-to-let side, I guess it's more in the limited company space where borrowers are tending to favour limited company borrowing rather than traditional buy-to-let, for tax purposes. And I think for Kensington, rising complexity presents a massive opportunity, right? We're seeing, more and more customers whose needs are non-standard, and we're desperate to help them. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Graham. I mean, absolutely, we know this area of the market is growing, and since the pandemic, which was really a main catalyst for a lot of change in our sector, we then started to have to combat the rising cost of living. So it's very understandable that many customers now fall outside of that high street mould, as you say.
It's been a rough and tumble few years, hasn't it?
Well, absolutely. I suppose on that, there's kind of probably been a lot of trends that we've seen both across the market and also here at Kensington. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with Kensington, actually, Eloise, where we've seen a massive uplift in application volume, and I think that, to your point, is representative of ever-changing customer needs, and I think growing broker awareness of how lenders like ourselves can service particular segments of the market. We've seen a significant rise in buy-to-let, as I was saying earlier. I think the main catalyst for that for us as a business has been the mega successful launch of our buy-to-let prime proposition back in October. I think more widely, despite some noise about buy-to-let, we're actually seeing a lot of borrowers moving from a personal buy-to-let to a limited company buy-to-let, and that's reflected in the mix of business that's coming into my team, but also the inquiries we're seeing through the likes of the broker support desk. Yeah, so I would say that's the main things we're seeing. Outside the buy-to-let, I guess, Eloise, residential performance remains strong, and I think that is just representative of the ever-changing customer demand. We're seeing more side hustles, we're seeing more entrepreneurialism more generally, and I think we're incredibly lucky to be able to help people who are a bit different and whose mortgage needs reflect that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Graham. And I suppose on that then as well, you and your team specialise in being specialist, and there's hundreds of customers that you guys help on a daily basis. Are there any kind of real life examples that can demonstrate those trends, and talk to us a little bit about that?
I think this is my favourite question that I ever get asked, Eloise. I think bringing to life where we've specifically helped a real person reinforces the value that we can bring. Sometimes you can get lost in big numbers and the number of cases that you process and service levels and all these things that are really important, but remembering that there's a person behind the product is at times really humbling. And I think the case study I would bring to life, Eloise, was a nurse, actually, so key worker and eligible for our Heroes range, going through, I guess, a really unfortunate set of personal circumstances. So separating from her partner, 3 young kids, obviously working in the NHS with shift patterns and allowances and stuff, her income fluctuated, and we were able to overlook some bumps in the road from a credit perspective, maximize her income and therefore her borrowing potential. And we were able to do a transfer of equity, which meant that, you know, this particular individual could stay in her family home with the safety and security and reassurance that that brings. We got a fantastic review from the broker that we worked in partnership with, you know, and that's very much how both me and the team see our relationship with the broker community. It's a partnership, and I guess that was reflected in a 5-star Trustpilot review and a brilliant story to share with the likes of the audience today. So
No,
I'm really proud of that one.
Absolutely, and rightly so. I think it's fantastic to hear those kind of case examples. Thank you, Graham, and probably very welcome to the brokers that are listening today to hear about how underwriters perceive that kind of partnership between lender and broker. And I suppose for those brokers that are listening today who are from across the UK, what would be kind of the top underwriting tip for them that you would want to give them for helping them place those complex cases?
Yeah, another good question. I think first and foremost, you know, to build on the relationship point, I think it's build a really strong relationship with your BDMs. You know, we have an amazing team of BDMs, the length and breadth of the country. They know the product, they know the policy inside out. And I think having them on board and their support throughout the case, you know, in partnership is really, really crucial. And I think we're developing that consultative approach from an underwriting point of view as well. You know, we try to pick up the phone wherever we can to, you know, build that relationship with the broker and make sure that we're, you know, discussing requirements and doing everything we can to say yes to help the customer. So I think that's my first tip. We don't exist as a lender if we don't work really, really closely with brokers, and therefore, you know, I think that relationship is key. And I think probably a bit of an ask from me, actually, from an underwriting point of view, is just really, really thoughtfully packaging a case. You know, so we tend to start to assess a case within a couple of days. And the biggest barrier to getting that turned around quickly is where we have to come back and ask for multiple bits of supporting information. And ultimately, you know, the better the quality of the packaging of the case, the more chance we have to turn around an offer quickly, which gives you and your customer the reassurance that they're going to be able to get the mortgage, and allows, I guess, for the broker community the chance to move on and help your next client. So I think twofold, Eloise: great relationship with your BDM, use them as a sounding board, and when you do send a case in, try and give us all the documentation up front that allows us to assess the case quickly.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, Graham. Thank you for that. And I suppose it comes back to that partnership piece again, us wanting to work alongside, support our brokers, and ask them to support us with that packaging piece as well. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm afraid it's all we've got time for, but thank you so much for jumping on and having a conversation with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.